of Selectmen. At the outset, I want to make clear that the Board of Selectmen does not view this article as one of partisan politics. Instead, Article 1 is about the rule of law. To state the obvious, everybody in this room believes in the rule of law, the separation of government powers, and the federal and republican systems of government present in the United States. If we did not share these beliefs, each of us would not be here. At the heart of Article 1 of this special town meeting is about supporting, upholding, and enforcing our country's laws and basic governing framework. To be clear, the immediate question before this body is whether the request of Congress opens an impeachment investigation against President Trump. The Board of Selectmen unanimously recommends favorable action for many of the reasons that have been stated by previous speakers. So in the interest of brevity, I'll curtail my remarks and take the advice of Selectman Wyszynski that he imparts at all public hearings that the Board of Selectmen holds. If you agree with the previous speaker, say so and move on to make another point. So I will say that the Board of Selectmen agrees with many of the points raised by the previous speakers, and I will make a brief point that hasn't been addressed yet. The Board of Selectmen believes it's important for people and groups to voice their opinions about the actions of President Trump, including whether his or her actions, warrant impeachment. The power to impeach is an essential check on the power of the executive branch of government and on the executive himself or herself, designed to prevent the use and accumulation of excessive power. If history tells us anything, power is often inappropriately utilized and centralized when indifference is rampant, when people are unmoved and unmotivated to express displeasure, defiance, or opposition. To paraphrase something David Frum, a former speechwriter for President George W. Bush, wrote in the Atlantic recently, if people retreat into private life, critics grow quiet, and President Trump is left unchallenged, he will slowly become more brazen. For those who question him, will be increasingly the subject of intimidation. The board feels it is appropriate and important for everyone who is upset and negatively affected by the actions of President Trump to speak out, including Brookline Town Meeting. By a vote of 5-0, the Board of Selectmen urges a vote of favorable action.
Good job.
Mr. Burstein, please come forward.
Marty Rosenthal, still coming 9 and co-chair PAC. I enthusiastically support this, as does PAC. I heard about it very early in the process and welcomed it. As far as I'm concerned, and there are many reasons to impeach the so-called president, and they've been stated today, and there are even more that haven't been stated today. As a criminal lawyer, I am down to the guilty of obstruction of justice. I'm not sure it can be proven, but there's really no doubt in my mind from events in the last couple of weeks. I want to speak briefly to the fact that, especially for the new town meeting members, we have a very long history of doing resolutions on national and international issues in Brookline. In fact, many of you know that the last question on our questionnaire, for as long as I can remember, and that's a while, is do you favor doing resolutions at town meeting on non-Brookline issues? And we've had it there because of that history. My favorite really goes back to 1778, when a unanimous Brookline town meeting voted to not pass the Mass Constitution until they added a Declaration of Rights. The vote then was 45-0, but I have not yet found a roll call vote. And there may be some before that, but that's my favorite. What I especially welcome about this resolution is, and also the silver lining of the Trump presidency, is all the new people who seem to be getting energized. We saw it in the candidates for town meeting. It made our job, especially Neil Gordon's job, harder in screening the questionnaires. I don't remember having this many candidates in a non-redistricting year when there was only 5 seats in each precinct that was up for grabs. And it was overwhelming, and many of them have been elected, and they're here, and I'm really happy they're here, because many of them came from that same company. My words of caution again and my words of hope in this instance. Almost every day I'm getting numerous emails from new groups and new movements against Trump. Just yesterday I got one from an outgrowth of the Boston Women's March Forward Mass. Cindy Rowe, the Brookline Democratic Town Committee Chair, held a meeting at a house across from Lawrence School about, I think that was February. There'd be an article in our upcoming PAX newsletter by her, and she formed something called Force Multiplier. According to that article, 25 groups were there. I was there. There were groups I'd never heard of. Some of them were small, some of them were big. But it showed me the new energy that's coming out, which is a good thing. But my question is, the question we put in our PAX letter to all of you, which I think probably next year we'll go back to mailing because many of you didn't print it out. We did it electronically this year. Is the question by Harry Belafonte about civil rights activists and his concern that he stated a few months ago that we have a struggle but not a movement. And what I'm hopeful is that all this new anti-Trump energy will turn into long-term organized infrastructure and energy.
You have 1 minute, sir.
Yes, thank you. I can reminisce about 40 years in 1 minute here because it was the Vietnam War that motivated me and changed my life. I was a complacent Brookline graduate from the JFK era and the Happy Talk era of the 50s. And all of a sudden, I saw my peers getting killed, my peers dodging the draft. 50,000 Americans died, 2 to 3 million Vietnamese. We dropped more bombs on Laos than all the bombs in World War II. But many people like myself got motivated and stayed involved. Many dropped out. The question I pose to all the anti-Trump people and the impeachment people is, this is a wonderful effort. But will you stay involved? Will you get involved? Will you get involved with groups like ACLU, Planned Parenthood, immigrant groups, climate groups, et cetera, and or will you go through this impeachment process and then drift back into the woods? Impeachment is a stretch.
Please
Washington
conclude.
is a cesspool of corruption by gerrymandered district and campaign finance, House of Representatives. So if it went through, wonderful.
Please
But
conclude.
if it
Mr.
doesn't,
Rosenthal.
get involved, stay involved, and be organized.
Mr. Burstein, and then I'll take motions and questions.
Good evening. Michael A. Burstein, town meeting member, precinct 12. I've been warned by the other members of my delegation to be brief. I have some brief comments here. I'm sorry, sir?
And by the moderator.
And by the moderator, yes. I actually could sort of riff off of what Marty said here. Every year when I filled out the PAX questionnaire, I've always felt a little bit ambivalent about the resolutions. Many of you who have been in town meeting with me, I've been here for 16 years, know I have voted in favor of many resolutions, but I've always felt a little uncomfortable about the idea of resolutions until tonight. And this is something I would put out to those of us here who are uncomfortable just with the idea of voting a resolution, even whether or not the resolution is about Trump or anything else. This resolution, I was actually expecting this to come from Brookline PAX. I was expecting Marty Rosenthal to get up there and put an impeachment resolution out. When he didn't, I kind of shrugged my shoulders and said, okay, I guess we're not ready for it. And then 2 regular registered voters in town, 2 citizens who were not involved in town government, were galvanized. And they came forward and said, we have to get this in front of town meeting. And they got over 400 signatures to get us to vote on this. And what this has told me is that there is no longer in my mind any question that the residents of this town really do feel that resolutions of this sort are the proper purview of town meeting. Going to the actual topic of the resolution, believe it or not, I was actually looking for some conservative Republican arguments in favor of it, because I have a few conservative Republican friends, some of whom could not bring themselves to vote for Trump and some who did. And I was thinking, how could I reach out to those voters? How could I reach out to members of town meeting, people in this body who very well may have possibly voted for Trump? the way I look at it is turn this around. Maybe this will work. Ask yourself, all of these things that he is doing, would you be willing to accept them from somebody who is not politically aligned with you? Because if not, I warn you that that might eventually happen. Over the years I've been alive, I think I can say that from both parties, we have seen an expansion of presidential powers. Once the president's office has power, whoever's the next president doesn't usually pull back on it. And at this point, we have a situation where a president, I believe, is exercising an attempt to take more power than the Constitution should allow. I'd like to conclude a little bit on this by thinking about the fact that because Trump was elected president, I can now say that I was born in the same county as a president of the United States. No other president before was born in Queens, New York. And I'm reminded of something that Nancy Daly quoted when she became the chair of the Selectmen.
You have 2 minutes.
2 minutes, which was also from a fictional famous resident of Queens, New York, which is that with great power, there must also come great responsibility. And I think that Trump has not learned this lesson, but I think that we, as regular citizens of the United States, are learning this lesson. We have the power, we can use it, and we have the responsibility to do so. Thank you.